Howdy, y'all. I'm Aaron, and it's been a while. I, after getting kind of overwhelmed with certain things, um, essentially an extensive workload at work, stuff that I wanted to do for film, other projects I had going on as an actor, as well as personal things. After all this time doing a little bit of thinking, I've decided to rebrand this YouTube channel. I want to focus less on the editing. Of course, there'll still be some editing, minimal edits. I also want to focus less on the catastrophe aspect that I thought would be, a good niche. But I decided the stuff that I work on deserves more respect than expecting it to go wrong and wanting to capture that on film. And, keeping all the mess ups towards the end, like the little blooper reel that I had going on. So, with all that being said, this is my last episode as the Clumsy Crafter, which is why I said my name at the beginning of this. I want to do away with that catastrophe aspect and focus more on the craft, focus more on my thoughts, focus more on what I want out of this, and maybe inspire along the way. So this might be a little bit more of a long form video with all the pauses, all the pauses in between talking. That was the thing that took me the longest when editing those other videos, was kind of cutting out the pauses. I wanted everything to be crisp. I expected too much out of something that I wanted to mess up on. It said it in the title, right? It said it in the YouTube channel. Crafting Catastrophes. I was setting myself up for failure, if that makes sense. So I'd rather speak life into my work. I know as an artist, I don't even want to define myself as an artist. But typically, there's this this saying that I've heard over and over is, when working with a canvas, you never really know when you're finished. You always feel like you can add another stroke of paint, another shade, and so I could be pretty hard on myself. I know I could always do better, but I'd rather focus on the learning rather than knowing that I'm not going to be the best. At this point, I don't care about being the best. Nobody can be the best. There's always going to be, someone better. There's always going to be someone who's had more years into the craft. Some people are just born with it, natural talents. So I want to be the best that I can be. without comparing to others. So I'll be announcing pretty soon when I am rebranding with the first episode of the new channel, along with a new channel name, along with a new format, like something like this, a bit of a long form video. So again, yeah, this is my last episode as the Clumsy Crafter. I am clumsy, but I'd rather not have that in the title. Also, with that series, you know, I was doing something right by focusing on the art rather than myself, but we kind of are the art. We are what we create. There's a sort of fingerprint in anything that we make, whether it be stuff with leather, whether it be painting, resin work, sculpting, you name it, music. We always leave a fingerprint. And I turned off the AC, so I might start getting sweaty. But there's always a fingerprint on anything we do, any conversation we have. It's not just with art. And I'd like to have my fingerprint in more of my stuff, because I felt like, to be honest with you, I felt like I needed to mess up for the series. And I didn't try to mess up, but when it happened, I got excited. And I was like, oh, this is content. And there was one video in particular where I started having that realization where I didn't want to post the mess ups. And that, I want to say it was like jewelry dish that I made out of polymer clay. I wasn't happy with it. It's not something that I would have done. I had taken a suggestion. Nothing against the suggestion, but it's just not something I wanted my fingerprint on. And after that episode, that's when it started, you know, making more sense. And I wasn't posting as consistently after that. Not that it hit me hard, right? I wasn't, there was other things going on in my life. I was working on a mural. I was working on some film projects. I was working outside of doing stuff like this. Since then, my workshop has expanded. I have started taking orders. This belt right here is actually a custom order. It's not the first, and I felt the need to update. But not just update, I felt like I missed out on stuff that I could have done for this YouTube channel, because I thought, oh, well, I'm not gonna mess this one up because it's for somebody, so it doesn't need to go on crafting catastrophes. And I lost out on some time, because I want to do this. I want to make videos. It's something that I did way before I even acted. If you want to see some of my older stuff, some of it has been taken down, but some of my older stuff, you can find it on the YouTube channel Tex Dirtball 97, I think. It's under my real name, which is Aaron Barrera. And that channel I started when I was probably in middle school, so oh, wow. Over 15 years ago. Maybe 15, maybe 16 years ago, I started that YouTube channel. And I didn't stick with it. But even after that, I was in audio video production. I would do stop motion for fun. I always loved being behind the camera. But then I fell in love with film, acting, being in front of the camera. And I kind of neglected the YouTube, something that, was a dream as a kid. Back when YouTube was simple, where you could post anything and find your niche without all the grand production value of the stuff we have nowadays, which is a good thing because anybody can create something that they didn't see and that they would want to see. As an artist, I feel like that's a lot of what we do is we create what we want. We create what we would want to see. Specifically, in videos, like if there's something that we feel is missing, we want to create it because it's something that we'd be interested in and hope that somebody else would be interested in it. So before this video gets too long, I'll close in saying that this rebranding, it's not just going to be focused on crafting. There will be a lot of leather work, I will warn you. Something I've fallen in love with in sobriety. Not to get too personal, but this video will be posted on July 16th. Today is the 15th. Wait. Yes, today is the 15th. Tomorrow will be the 16th, which is when this video will come out. In sobriety, I have 11 months as of the time of this video being released. The 16th of July, 11 months. Something I never thought would happen. I had a problem, and so backstory. When I was in 3rd grade, I still sucked my thumb. One day, I was walking by a mirror, and I was sucking my thumb. I looked at myself, and I was like, hey, you look weird. You look like an idiot. You shouldn't be sucking your thumb. You're grown up. I was still in the 3rd grade. Of course, I wasn't grown up, but I knew it was wrong, if that makes sense, by just looking at myself doing it. Same thing with alcohol. And I kind of had a deja vu moment. Not to get too much into the specifics, but let's just say it was a morning and I was getting out of the shower and I just so happened to be drinking also. Early in the morning, before work, and I looked at myself in the mirror while doing it and I had that same exact thought. You look like an idiot. What are you doing? This is wrong. So I came to terms with it. That was 11 months ago, and I sought help around that time. I had never been to the doctor for mental health in all 27 years of my life. Never been to the doctor for, the mental health stuff. Well, it turns out I have really bad ADHD. And one of the things that is common in ADHD adults is substance abuse, whether it be alcohol, you name it. It's very common. And I don't know if, a good amount of people go through it nowadays, and a lot of people go undiagnosed. But I'm glad I sought help. And in seeking help, I was very honest. I spoke about what I was struggling with. And I've been self-medicating. So here's to 11 months. 11 months. 11 months where I've been able to do stuff that I love without being clouded. Because I, of course, you're still going to do what you love, even if you're going through alcoholism. You'll find a way. But this has made it a lot easier. I have nothing against it. I have nothing against people that want to indulge. We're all adults here. But I liked it too much. And I'm glad that it doesn't hold me back anymore. Rather than spending money on that, I'm able to invest in my hobbies, my love for art, my love for music, my love for film, my love for acting. Everything has seen a major improvement. I have had I don't want to sound like I'm bragging here, but I constantly audition for stuff, whether it be, TV shows, movies, theatrical productions, like stage productions, cruise lines, you name it. I audition for it. And having an agent, really helps with that. And I've had upwards of 150 since I've been signed with my agency. Upwards of 150 auditions. I could be totally wrong, and it could be upwards of 200. I don't know at this point, because I do my job and I forget about it. My job, when an audition comes in, is to do my best work and then forget about it. Not to dwell on it, And without the sobriety, I was dwelling on it, and I was like, hey, why is nothing happening? Since getting sober, I've had 3 callbacks, and that's a lot out of the percentage of things that I have done within that time span compared to how it used to be. Specifically, the most major callback I've had came with this clear mind. Came from having a clear mind, which was my first ever Broadway callback, where I had to pack my bags and fly out to the city where I once lived. I lived there for 3 years pursuing musical theater. And I was struggling at the time. Like I was auditioning, but I was in a dark place, and it took getting back home, going through the pandemic, down here, finding myself, to finally land something like that. It feels like it came from all the work I've done and all the faith I've had in my God. It felt like a bit of a reward for the hard work. And I'm now at the point where I can honestly say, I don't think I know I will never go back to that dark place in terms of alcoholism. We all have rough times. It's a human thing. but I won't have that crutch anymore. Hitting that 12th month mark, a year, next month, is a major accomplishment that I would not want to go back on. Not a lot of people know this, and I hope in saying this that it might help someone out there that's going through the same thing. Whoever watches this. I know it's might be boring just hearing me talk, so we'll end it there. But yeah, this is the last episode of crafting Catastrophes. It's been a ride, but I feel like the craft deserves much more respect than what I was giving it. I'm going to end it here because I want to turn that AC back on. Goodbye, y'all.